made part of the record.
Without objection. It is the tradition of this committee to swear in witnesses, so if you'll stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you'll give before this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You be seated. Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen is the 6th Secretary for the Department of Homeland Security and the first former DHS employee to become the Secretary. Prior to joining the department, Ms. Nielsen served as the Deputy Principal White House Chief of Staff to President Trump. Secretary Nielsen also served as the Chief of Staff to then-Secretary John Kelly at the Department of Homeland Security. Secretary Nielsen served in the Bush administration as a Special Assistant to the President and Senior Director on the White House Homeland Security Council from 2004 to 2007. She holds a bachelor's degree from the Georgetown University School of Foreign Service and a JD from the University of Virginia School of Law. Secretary Nielsen.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, Chairman Johnson, Ranking Member McCaskill, and other distinguished members of the committee. I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you today, and I'd like, if I could, to submit my full written testimony for the record.
Without objection.
I want to begin by thanking you. As the chairman mentioned, we greatly appreciate your advancing the DHS authorization bill earlier this year. As you know, we have not been reauthorized since our creation 15 years ago. This results in critical gaps that affect our ability to protect the American people. I also want to thank you in general and to the full committee for being strong supporters of DHS, for listening to our analysis of emerging threats, and listening to what we need to do our jobs. A lot has changed in 15 years. The threats have evolved, our enemies have adapted, and our adversaries are resurgent. In the meantime, our authorities have not kept pace. So today I want to highlight several areas where DHS requests your support in order to help us better secure our country, including achieving border security and closing immigration loopholes, transforming our cyber agency within DHS, authorizing the Countering Weapons of Mass Destruction Office, providing authorities to help us counter unmanned aerial systems, and supporting the President's 2019 budget proposal for DHS. First and foremost, border security is national security. And while we have made vast improvements, make no mistake, we do face a crisis. We see unacceptable levels of illegal drugs, dangerous gangs, criminal activity, and illegal aliens flow across our southern border. That is why last month we deployed the National Guard to our southern border. Anyone who thinks this is a stunt should look at the stats. Our officers have apprehended more than 2,000 people attempting to illegally enter our country, and they are interdicting drugs that would likely otherwise have gone undetected. At the same time, my message to smugglers, traffickers, and criminals is clear. If you tried to enter our country without authorization, you've broken the law. The Attorney General has declared that we will have zero tolerance for all illegal border crossings, and I stand by that. Anyone crossing the border illegally or filing a fraudulent asylum claim will be detained, referred for criminal prosecution, and removed from the United States as appropriate. But our National Guard deployment, zero-tolerance policy, border wall construction, and other actions will only get us partway there. We urgently need Congress to pass legislation to close the legal loopholes that are fueling this crisis in the first place. Those coming illegally know it's easier to get released into America if they claim asylum. They know it's easier to get released if they're part of a family or if they're unaccompanied children. So it should come as no surprise that we are seeing a spike in all of these categories. Word is getting out. Asylum claims are up 200% in the past 5 years. Family unit apprehensions are up nearly 600% compared to this time last year, and UAC apprehensions are up more than 300%. In fact, 5 years ago, apprehensions of families and UACs were less than 1 out of every 10 apprehensions. Now they approach almost half, 40%. Some say these increases are the result of spreading crime or failing economies in source countries. But in those places, we are actually seeing economic growth and lower homicide rates. The reality is that their economies are cratering. The reality is not that their economies are cratering, it's that ours is booming. America is a land of opportunity. And that's a pull factor for anyone. But if we have a legal system of immigration for those who want to come here for economic reasons, they should do so legally. Asylum is for people fleeing persecution, not those searching for a better job. Yet our broken system, with its debilitating court rulings, a crushing backlog, and gaping loopholes, allows illegal migrants to get into our country anyway and for whatever reason they want. This gaming of the system is unacceptable. We need urgent action from Congress to close these dangerous legal loopholes that are making our country vulnerable. I would also note, and it's important, I try to say this at every opportunity, that the journey itself to our borders is risky. It endangers the illegal aliens themselves, the communities they pass through, our agents at the border, and U.S. communities in our homeland. To be clear, human smuggling operations are lining the pockets of transnational criminals. They are not humanitarian endeavors. Smugglers prioritize profits over people. And when aliens pay them to get here, they are contributing $500 million a year or more to groups that are fueling greater violence and instability in America and the region. There are other options. If migrants have a legitimate need to flee, they should seek protection in the first safe country they enter, including Mexico. They should not subject themselves to a long and dangerous journey. This is not and should not be a political or partisan issue, and I hope that we can discuss real solutions today. The past 4 presidents have pleaded with Congress to act on this security challenge, but this administration is tired of waiting. So in the meantime, we are doing everything within our authorities to secure the border and enforce our laws. Turning to the cyber domain, I want to make clear today that we've reached a turning point in cyber threat evolution, where digital security is converging with personal and physical security. Cybersecurity can no longer be relegated to the IT department and thought of as a nuisance. Now it's a matter of preserving our lives, our livelihoods, and our American way of life. One of the most critical parts of the DHS authorization bill is its evolution of our cybersecurity and infrastructure security resilience mission, transforming the National Protection and Programs Division, NPPD, into a new operational component, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, is imperative to our success on the front lines of the digital battlefield. It will be a clearer focal point for our interagency, industry, and international partners. It will help DHS recruit and retain employees with critical skill sets, and it will clarify DHS's role as National Risk Manager for cybersecurity and critical infrastructure security. I ask and thank for the committee's continued support in the transformation of this component. I also want to take this opportunity to mention the Department's cybersecurity strategy, which is being rolled out today. The strategy is built on the concepts of mitigating systemic risk and strengthening collective defense. Both will inform our approach to defending U.S. networks and supporting governments at all levels in the private sector in increasing the security and resilience of critical infrastructure. I do look forward to discussing that with you further today. I am also seeking your support to confront another category of evolving threats, weapons of mass destruction. From the chemical attacks in Syria to Russia's brazen assassination attempt against a UK defector, we have seen the damage that these agents can do. And we know that terrorists are not only using them on the battlefield, but are working to incorporate them into Western attacks. In December, I announced the establishment of a DHS Countering Weapons of Mass Destruction Office, which is now leading our response to these threat streams and incidents. But the office still lacks critical authorities. While we currently have the ability to respond comprehensively to nuclear threats, we lack comparable authorities for chemical and biological threats. I ask this committee and all of Congress to work with me to permanently authorize this office and to equalize the authorities we possess across all threat vectors. Further, our enemies are exploring other technologies as well, such as drones, to put our country in danger. ISIS has used armed drones to strike targets in Syria, and we are increasingly concerned that we will try the same tactics on our soil. We have also seen drones used to smuggle drugs across our borders and to conduct surveillance on sensitive government locations. So today, I'd like to particularly thank Chairman Johnson, Ranking Member McCaskill, Senator Heitkamp, and Senator Hoeven for responding to our request and introducing a bill to help DHS counter the growing threat posed by UAS. DHS needs clear legal authority to identify, track, and mitigate drones that could pose a danger to the public and to DHS operations. Our proposal and your bill would authorize DHS and the Department of Justice to conduct limited counter-UAS operations for a narrow set of important and prioritized missions, all the while importantly protecting privacy and civil liberties. We are grateful for your leadership on this and look forward to working with you as the legislation moves forward. Finally, I would like to ask for the committee's support for the President's 2019 budget. The budget for DHS requests $47.5 billion in net discretionary funding and an additional $6.7 billion for the Disaster Relief Fund for response and recovery to major disasters. This budget sustains and strengthens our most critical programs and capabilities. It emphasizes protecting our nation from terrorism and countering threats, securing and managing our borders, enforcing our immigration laws, preserving and upholding the nation's prosperity and economic security, securing cyberspace and critical infrastructure, and strengthening Homeland Security preparedness and resilience. Throughout all of these missions, the budget also prioritizes my goal of putting our dedicated employees first and maturing DHS operations. I ask the committee to support this budget, to continue supporting our employees and our missions, and to continue to help us make our country more secure. I thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to your questions.